Okay, g'day folks, and welcome to the next episode of It's Always Beeroclock. We're on our first road trip for 2025. In the co-pilot seat, my navigator is Simon, and in the back seat we have our adjutant, sidekick Dave. We're on our way to the Southern Highlands, which is an hour and a half south of Sydney, to visit the appropriately named Southern Highlands Brewing Company. It's going to take about an hour and a half to get there, so sit back, relax and enjoy the journey.
How long is it going to take to get there?
Dave, I just said it's going to take 90 minutes to get there.
Are we there yet?
Sidekick Dave, don't make me do what we had to do last time.
How far to go now?
David, that's enough.
So after a pleasant drive, we arrive at our destination. The microbrewery is located on founder Ben Twomey's farm. It's not open to the public as there is no on-site tap room, but local pubs in Bundanoon and Sutton Forest act as de facto tap rooms.
Okay, here we go.
Are we there yet?
We've just arrived at Southern Highlands Brewing, just outside of Sutton Forest, and we're going inside to talk to Ben Twomey, the founder.
Let's go in. We're here at Southern Highlands Brewing Co, just outside of the village of Sutton Forest, with Ben Twomey, the founder. G'day, Ben.
Stacky, you well?
Very well, mate. Thank you.
Thanks for coming down.
Thanks very much for having us. Now, perhaps you could fill us in on the backstory and your backstory. Before you were a brewery owner, what were you doing?
Something very different to brewing. I was in the corporate finance world. I spent I suppose my early formative years after graduating from Sydney University at PwC,
Yep.
which isn't the usual pathway for a brewer, and then had 10 years overseas, 5 years in London as a management consultant, and
Right.
then moved to Dubai, and we did a bit of a buy and build on a corporate entity in Dubai and sold out to private equity. So probably on the other end of the spectrum of brewing. But then to connect the dots, back in 2010, moved back from Dubai into the Southern Highlands, 25 acres in the Southern Highlands. Didn't have a lot to do, so I thought, well, I was playing rugby at the Bowral Blacks with a guy called Cameron James, who was a very, very proficient home brewer.
Right.
And he used to have a December Beer Fest, and I went along to the December Beer Fest one day, and I said to Camo, I said, mate, you know what we should do in the Southern Highlands? Why don't we start a brewery? And so, because I met Camo at the Bowral Blacks playing rugby, and he was a bit cheeky and said, well, listen, everyone asked me to do that. If I had $1, I would have done it myself.
Yeah.
So I sat there and I thought, right, I'm going to do this. And we sort of had a business plan which we picked up and put down for probably about a year. Camo came and saw this barn and thought, what a great way to start on acreage in Sutton Forest. Let's not build the Taj Mahal, let's start small and try and evolve it. And so that was really the genesis of why we're standing here today, I guess.
Okay, and is Cam still involved in the business?
Cam left us. He was the head brewer here for many years, and Camo is doing he's doing his own craft beer bar. That was his passion. So he wanted to go into the retail side of the stuff.
Right.
But he still works with us and helps it out on a contract basis. So whilst he was full-time, he's still involved with the brewery.
Okay, so since those early days, how has the business developed?
We started, and when we started, we started too small, but I did start very small, and I wanted to incrementally grow the business. And so we moved into, we sort of grew into the business, and hence we upgraded to the system we have today. And then I think you all might remember a little inconvenient global pandemic hit us in about 2019. So we got going in about 2016. 2019 we're on the curve up, and then we were sort of treading water for about 3 years, but I understand I was in pretty good company. I started to think, right, what do we need to do differently coming out of COVID to relaunch ourselves?
Right.
And I suppose in the brewing industry, it was great getting through a pandemic, and we ran into the headwinds of cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
So that sort of got the thinking pretty focused, actually, and then we evolved into a conversation with a former colleague of mine in Dubai, probably about 2 years ago, where I think we all re-emerged from COVID thinking, right, well, I think we've got to be a little contrarian on how we move forward. And that's when he hatched the idea, because he had a brewery in the UK, and we had the brewery here. He said, well, why don't we get a merger together and look at this more corporately?
Okay, so you came out of Dubai,
Yep.
he came out of Dubai, and you
Yep.
both had the same idea and opened breweries on opposite sides of the world?
Yeah, I got out of the blocks first. Mike McGeever was back in the UK, and I think he was a bit bored, and I said, well, why don't you do what I did and start a brewery, because he owned pubs. So I said, it's nice to vertically integrate. I said, start a brewery. And then this is probably our latest venture, is putting Southern Highlands Brewing under the Powder Monkey Group.
Right, so Powder Monkey is the name of the brewery in the UK?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And so they've got a place in Gosport. It's one of those the ex-armoury depots, because it's a big naval town around Portsmouth, Gosport.
Okay, yeah.
And they've got a wonderful facilities over there, ex-naval facilities that needs gentrification. They've put the brewery into this big armament depot where, I think cannonballs were stored in there. That was a sort of, and then they've also got they've got the tap house down in Gosport as well. So they've got the retail venue and the brewery, which sit probably a couple of 100 metres apart down in Gosport.
Okay, so what are the advantages of being a part of the Powder Monkey Group, or being merged with Powder Monkey?
Well, I think the first thing was, as part of the Powder Monkey Group story, there was a capital raise. So capital, and I think that was the big advantage of putting the breweries together. And I think Powder Monkey's trying to build a global group.
Okay.
It's not just the UK and Australia. And so I think it was subscribing to a contrarian business model as well, because I think, if we keep following the general trend of breweries, it's probably not the best trick in this market at the moment. So the beauty of the business we're in at the moment, zero debt with capital, which is always handy at this time of in this cycle. So
yeah, it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got together with Powder Monkey. That didn't really result in any change here, particularly in your brewery or your equipment or your production here. And actually, talking of your production, what's sort of the annual production capacity here?
We've probably got about 100,000 litres here. We could probably nudge it a little bit more.
So Ben, maybe you could just briefly take us through your core range of beers.
Yeah, I think we've got probably 6 beers across the styles. The 2 we're probably most renowned for, and probably our most awarded beer, would be our porter, the Goodfather Porter. And that's won gold medals in London. It's also won IBA gold medals as well. So that's probably one of our most recognised beers. And it's quite funny, because we're in the colder climates, our colder climate beers tend to resonate quite well.
Yep.
We've also got a Celtic Red Ale, which goes very well as well. So I'm probably starting from the darks, coming back to the lights here.
Yeah.
And then so we've got an awarded Australian Blonde Ale as well, which is a very easy drinking ale. We have an IPA called the Tidehead IPA.
The rugby connection?
Yeah. Well, it's big and bold, but it goes down easy, like most Tideheads. So it was, and one of the beers that one of the things we've created, we've also got a beer called the Bong Bong Picnic Ale. Because in the inception, when the brewery started, we wanted to provide beer to the Bong Bong Picnic races. They introduced it could only be mid-strength, and that's the liquor licence now. The Bong Bong Picnic races can only be mid-strength.
Yeah, it used to be pretty wild back in the day.
It was a good old show.
Yeah.
And so we asked them and said, listen, since we want to name our mid-strength the Bong Bong Picnic Ale, they loved it, and we still supply the races today. And so we've got an American Pale Ale, both mid and strong, a Tidehead, Blonde Ale, and the red and the black. So that's probably our signature core range. And obviously we do the seasonals, depending on what's going on.
Have you made any stupid beers, like, clam chowder beers or anything like that?
Yeah, we made what was the one there's a brewery in Japan called Two Rabbits, and Sean, who's a good friend of ours, an Australian guy who married a Japanese lady, set up a brewery in Omihachiman in Japan. And so 2019 World Cup, I went over and we did a collab brew. We did an Australian Golden Ale. And so he returned the favour here, and we did an origami porter, which had those bento flakes in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was like probably close to the oystery, stouty, and so that was pretty crazy.
Sounds like you've got a great following in the local area.
Yeah, lovely local presence, and then a really good following in probably our next best market might be Canberra.
Okay. Now, can people get hold of your beer in cans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're within Endeavour Drinks Group, so through BWS.
Okay.
Yeah. Also Chambers Cellars, and outside, naming there's independent stores that might have us. Probably the easiest thing to say is probably through the BWS and Dan Murphy's chains.
Okay. Can people also get a hold of it online?
Yes. So we've got all 3 brands are online on an updated website when we integrated the Powder Monkey Group in.
Okay.
Yeah. Before I went over and we merged the business in September 23, I think it is now, yes. September 23, I got a phone call from a colleague of mine and said, you've got to meet this guy, Pat McInerney. So there was a little bit of and I said, listen, I've just got to go do a few things. I'm over in the UK, I was over for the Rugby World Cup, I was going to pop over to Gosport, and see if we could bundle up a merger deal within a week. And that's how they operate. That's how Mike operates. And because I've worked together with Mike, we're quite. We've done a lot of deals together, and this time we sat across the table, so we know how each other think. And the other thing is, we're quite trusted business partners. So that was quite easy to transact. Once that was done, one of the first calls I made was, right, I'll ring Pat. And so hence we started a conversation with Willie the boatman.
Okay, well, we're going to meet Pat at a local pub.
At a pub, brilliant.
And taste some of your products. So maybe we'll continue on with part 2 of the interview there.
Part 2, Pat McInerney.
Okay.
I might not be able to get a word in by then, so anyway, I'll try and get it. That's why I'm trying to get them all in now. So, no, that'll be great.
All right, let's head to the pub.
Excellent. Look forward to that.
With that, we headed off to the nearby Sutton Forest pub, where we tried a number of the Southern Highlands brews on tap and in the can, and caught up with an old mate from episode 1 of It's Always Beeroclock.
Okay, we're here at the Sutton Forest Inn, and we've been joined by Pat McInerney, who viewers might recognise from episode number 1 of It's Always Beeroclock, and there's a certain symmetry to this because this is episode number 50. Now,
Congratulations.
Well, congratulations.
Silver Jubilee.
Indeed. Now, Pat, perhaps you could talk us through the integration of Willie the boatman into the Powder Monkey group.
Stacky, I can actually say that last time I spoke to you, I was highly stressed out, and we were certainly speaking under a completely set of different circumstances. And I have to say the integration of Willie the boatman, Southern Highlands, Powder Monkey, very much with the direction of Ben, has been seamless. And has actually given, I think, all 3 brands a fantastic platform and a very strong future. Whereas last time you spoke to me, in the back of my mind, I was actually thinking I was the captain of the Titanic. And I was going down, baby. So, and probably, unfortunately, like a lot of other small independent brewery owners at the time, we were like, anchors, financial anchors, and we were quickly sinking to the bottom. And I don't know how, but I was lucky to come into contact with Ben. Lot of things in common, a lot of values in common, a lot of ideas together, and it's been amazing. It's been fantastic, and honestly, I see the 3 brands being incredibly strong for a long time to come. Okay,
And guys, what's the future hold for the next year or 2 for the group?
that's probably Ben.
Well, yeah, it's like I said. Well, when I caught up with Pat when he was rearranging his deck chairs, I was. We thought the best thing we could do is one of the. I suppose just to add to that story, probably a nice compliment to us was Pat and his sales experience.
Yep.
And what I sold to the guys in the UK is one of the things we acquired with Willie's is not only a great location but a pioneer of the craft beer industry in New South Wales. So. Once we got that business integrated, we're really in a good position. There's a couple of key things, or a couple of key goals we're looking to do. One was launch Powder Monkey brand in Australia, which we've successfully done now, 100%. And it was one of those launches that without Pat and his network, it would have taken a lot longer. So that was a nice brand evolution for Powder Monkey. What it's done, it's lifted Southern Highlands into a bigger footprint as well. On top of what we can only say was a really solid wholesale footprint that, Willie the Boatman had in New South Wales. So that's probably base camp at Everest for us at the moment, which is great. Couple of key initiatives we're looking at is moving the brewery to Camden, and so we've got an agreement to lease on a venue in Camden Village, and so we should be looking to launch that, which will be a really good retail premise. And so what we'll end up doing is having Powder Monkey Inner West and Powder Monkey Outer West. Because if you don't have to be do the quantitative analysis that, the big growth area in Sydney is the southwest. Yeah. So that's really key to our plans moving forward. So that's probably the next thing in the pipeline, I'd say, Staggy.
Okay, and you'll be moving all your brew equipment from Sutton Forest to Camden?
Yes, that's the plan. So, and that'll become the second venue, and so that'll brew between Willie's and Camden. So St Peters and Camden. That'll brew the group volume.
With the sort of combined group and Pat's sort of sales experience, have you been able to also expand the sort of sales and distribution of the products?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a fantastic portfolio, and we can simplify ordering processes by offering 3 brands, and it might you can take over rotating taps with 3 different beers for 3 months. There's a lot of great things that we can do. I mean, our group is a beer festival with one business hat.
We've done a collab beer with a grade cricketer. It's a Powder Monkey collab with a grade cricketer, and it's going to be a bespoke beer for the grade cricketer. And the attraction for us was that not only can we appeal to their Australian audience, 25% of their patronage is in the UK, and so that's one of the benefits we're seeing at the moment is there's probably about 3, as I call them, cross equator opportunities that we're both delivering in the UK and Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
exciting.
Well, it's a dimension. It was a dimension I never thought we'd be doing a couple of years ago. So.
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic actually.
Well, I mean, I think we spoke off camera earlier, you said they had 320,000 subscribers, was that right?
Yes.
So that market, it's huge, and you wouldn't have accessed that market otherwise.
Well, it's funny because I tried to do the business plan on it, and we've got to pioneer it. It's exciting, we'll see how we go, but I think that great cricketer with 312,000 subscribers in a cricket environment, and we all love our cricket.
Cricket and beer drinking goes together.
Yeah.
And Chats and Vegemite, cricket and beer.
Yeah.
Well, and then and I think the key, interesting that we're going to evolve that relationship into the English summer, and then hopefully culminate it with the Ashes coming out this time next year. So that's been a really interesting dimension that we've picked up, and actually through Pat's contacts. So that's probably a nice little exemplar of what I suppose that what does that international brewery provide us? Yeah, so it depends. We either brew any beer can be
brewed at either location.
Yeah. What's in the brew? Geez, we need to do a red ale. We'll do it in the Highlands.
Yeah,
we're short of Willie's. A Willie's might get brewed down here, and a Highlands might get brewed up there.
Yeah,
right.
It's collective assets.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we're doing is it's bizarrely probably going to be Southern Highlands because the roux is on the can, and the sales team have already been sniffing around Earl's Court, and because they have a lot of these outback bars, and the Australian blonde ale with the gold kangaroo You know, everyone loves an Aussie blonde sort of marketing pitch for those guys. It's just another string to their bow that, you know, it depends. You can go into the pubs in London and it wouldn't resonate in a lot of them, but in those Australian bars where it's brewed in Portsmouth and shipped up to London, just makes sense. So that's definitely into the equation. And actually they've just started to sell it at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds exciting, guys. Thanks very much for talking to us, and best of luck with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tacky.
Okay, gents. Well, it's been a great day down here in the Southern Highlands, meeting Ben from the Southern Highlands Brewing Company, and also catching up with Pat from Willie the Boatman.
Yeah.
Dave, what did you think of the day?
Great day down here. We got to have a taste of some of their brews and lunch at the Sutton Forest Inn.
Simon, did you enjoy the day?
I did, and it'll be very interesting to follow the Powder Monkey group and see where they go. Looking forward to that.
Anyway, folks, until next time, remember, it's always Beeroclock. Dave?
Really?
Yes, in you get.
Not happy about this.
Get in.
Oh, the things you do for art.